members of the panel up. This is a slightly anarchic panel in that we don't really have a moderator. They're a very moderate group themselves and they'll prevent themselves from arguing. I'd like to invite up David Rich, who's Vice President of Asia Pacific at Akamai Technologies, fellow rugby fan, and welcome to the welcome up, David. And I'd like to invite Nittipong Boonlong, Vice President Carrier and Roaming Solutions DTAC here in Thailand. And third, but by no means least, Naoki Wakai San, who's Senior Director, Global IP Network, Network and Solutions, Network Services, NTT Communications in Japan. And the topic for the gentleman is achieving market leadership through CDN partnership opportunities. But I suggest that you start by giving us a little bit of background of your involvement in the topic, and then good luck.
Thank you, David. Well, I guess we'll start with from a customer perspective of the CDN and the carrier network. Because right now on the panel we have like probably the leader in the CDN from Akamai, and we have one of the Asian leader carrier. And I think from a customer perspective like us, which is DTAC, like our function is to my role in the DTAC is leader is to operate the carrier part of DTAC, which is voice and data side. And we find that this CDN dilemma in this industry is traditional IP backbone or IP transit like NTT and some of the Ricky over there, global processing, level 3 now, has yes. These people, they find that the carrier revenue stream is from selling pipes. That's probably your main revenue generation. However, while the CDN, which is a new trend of the industry, where content is being put on the edge of the network instead of being centralized someplace, I think that kind of creates some kind of dilemma where the carrier, they want to sell the network infrastructure, while if they promote CDN, which is putting on the edge, then they'll be probably losing some revenue on the network side. And we find that as many of the Thai operators, we have CDN provider hosted on our network, most of us already. So and we find huge bandwidth, it sits on the CDN. When we say huge bandwidth, mostly, I think it goes along with all the operators here, the Google, YouTube, or the Facebook, which runs on the Akamai CDN. These are consume huge amount of bandwidth, and it's put on the edge. That means that we save a lot of cost saving as opposed to buying IP transit, which is the main revenue stream for the traditional IP transit supplier. So this kind of a dilemma that created in this, I guess, a clash in these two sides. So maybe I'll just start that and maybe let the two sides kind of, maybe there are other business model or issues that can accommodate this. So we as a customer, we will benefit.
So hello, David Rich. I'm Vice President of Sales in Asia Pac for Akamai. A little bit about Akamai, just to set the context. Akamai started 14 years ago and is widely known as the market leader in the CDN world, albeit we actually prefer to refer to what we do as an application delivery network, not just pure content. And we try and solve the problems of performance, security, availability, reliability, predictability of applications running over the internet, which I think we all know is an inherently unreliable place, an inherently insecure place. So we've been doing this for 14 years. We have a globally distributed platform of servers at the edge of the internet, hosted largely in telcos and ISPs around the world, about 900 different networks we have servers in. And the idea being is that we try and take as much of the application or the content and host that as close to the eyeball as possible to really improve the end user experience. And it's actually the end user experience, the user of the content, which is key, I think, to the whole monetization and partnering with telecommunications companies going forward. One thing that we've realized is we've got this huge global cloud platform where we're delivering content for many of the biggest sites in the world. 10 out of the 10 top banks use us for their online activities. 10 out of the 10 biggest e-commerce companies in the world use us. All the major media companies, particularly North America, use us, but more and more so globally. And more enterprise customers are putting applications on the internet now in order to access people on any device, anywhere, whether it's CRM or other applications. More and more applications are moving into the cloud, which essentially divorces them from the private network into the public network. So we're trying to make sure that those applications work when they transverse the internet, that they're secure, that they're available, and they work as they're meant to, and they're not degraded in any way by the fact that they're running over mobile, the fact that they might be running across the internet, which is congested at times. So whilst we've been doing this well on a global basis, what we haven't to date done, which we're now planning to do, and in fact we just launched last month a set of operator services, is partner with operators to help them solve the content that really is mission critical, whether it's media or enterprise applications, within their own geographies. So if you take Thailand as an example, how can Thai operators monetize premium content on their network? And we now launched a set of services under the brand Aura, which are designed specifically to help operators to monetize content domestically and also leverage our global platform so that when that content needs to go offshore, it can be delivered across this huge, vast infrastructure that we have, which can be delivered the content reliably to any country in the world. So it's kind of a federation in as much that we have a federation of 900 plus network operators today. But at the same time, it's taking that federation to a partner within any given country and then helping them extend the capability domestically on their infrastructure and monetize that domestic content.
Okay, nice to meet you. My name is Wakai from NTT Communications, who is #1 transit provider in the world. So maybe some of that guy who does not understand the situation between three. So in a sense, Akamai is our big customer, our partner in US or wherever. They push the contents and we carry the content all the way to Thailand and we can hand over to the data in Thailand. Maybe they deliver it to the customer directly, or sometimes they store the Akamai cache in data. So this is what we are doing. So Akamai or other, nowadays only 3 independent CDN providers in the world available. They don't have a network, so we just carry this kind of contents to store into our ISP's customer, how to say, cache server, or deliver to their end customer. So this is the situation. So #1 provider is, if you know about the level 3. Level 3 has also a very strong CDN provider. We are the #2 without any kind of a CDN solution. So this is the situation. So we are almost like all the CDN provider is our partner or customer. So we're carrying every day. Now the CDN, as you remember, as I remember, in US in year 2009, they named the CDN provider as a hyper giant. And they just saying that they will become more strong power, almost like equal as like our tier 1 provider. So nowadays, in US, day by day, they push more than almost like a terabit size packet to us. Even in Japan, I deliver like a 200 gig capacity to our end customer ISP in Japan. So this is the situation. So Now, maybe I should explain some of the situation. Our, as a, how to say, carrier to carry the traffic for Akamai to our ISP, what's the difficulty is sometimes they shift the traffic pattern very seriously in one day. So sometimes we used to carry from US to Japan or US to Thailand. I have a 600 gig capacity for Trans-Pacific and 500 gig for intra-Asia. Sometimes some of the big contents is losing in the US. They start to pushing that one in Japan or something. So this kind of things, without coordinating with some of the big player, maybe we lose a lot. Since we install the cable and we are ready to carry, but no packet will come in one day. Or sometimes, like last year, the big event was iPhone OS upgrade. At that time in Japan, we historically hit the record for 100 gig from him. So we worry about how much capacity will come. And how to say, CDN, of course, is a big power. They can generate traffic a lot. So we're handling day by day how we can satisfy our customer or our CDN player. This is what we are always how to say, trying to do. So previous panel was what we call the successful network planning. This is only achievable nowadays, not only by us. Such kind of big hypergiant player in the world. So this is, I think, the most important thing to monetize us or for DTAG or for other ISP or some of the CDN players like that. But still, other than that, what maybe some special topic for Asian sites. You know, some of the country, it's difficult to deliver in some case. They don't have open market or their bandwidth with us is small, relatively small. So some of the CDN players, they have what's called a DSA technology, dynamic site acceleration. They already measure for destination latency. If it's better, they shift everything. So we always are planning to expand some of the difficulty country to expand the bandwidth, like China or Taiwan or Korea or Myanmar or somewhere. Once we expanded enough capacity, within one day, it will be filled up. So this kind of thing is also making us sometimes the difficulty to say network design. Since content is very important for us to deliver, but on the other hand, some of the shifting of the traffic from what you call the private MPLS network, some of the customers shifting to the open network using the internet VPN. So they are also really sensitive about the latency. So if this kind of a big shift also changing our, how to say, smoothness or latency issue will be caused. So while we are waiting for this kind of a CDN traffic, without having a good discussion, that will damage our VoIP customer or how to say, internet VPN customer. This is what I'm always doing. But on the other hand, like a CDN have, like a Akamai have a very good movement now. Maybe you, as you might notice last week, press release about Akamai's collaboration with like a Livabet. Livabet is more, how to say, MPT areas or closed network or private network application accelerator, who started to transplant some of the code from Akamai, and Akamai Livabet transplant some of the code to caching server in Akamai. That one makes our customer really happy, or how to say, more accelerate to shifting the network from legacy MPLS to open network. So this kind of thing I'm always discussing with Akamai or other CDN provider to improve the service and customer satisfaction.
So it's interesting, we talk in terms of content delivery, but actually more than half of Akamai's revenues comes from what I call non-traditional content, which is around applications such as enterprise applications and people who do business on the internet. Examples might be internet banking, it might be online airlines, it might be people selling things online, and so on. But also around the enterprise applications, as we know, there's a move towards the cloud, there's a move towards software as a service, there's a move towards either the public network or a hybrid of public and private networks on MPLS. All of these things are going to stretch and test the internet more. The internet, as I've said already, was never designed for performance, and that issue has to be resolved along with security and so forth. So more and more enterprise, as well as the more traditional content pushers, if you like, media companies and the like, are using the internet. I just read some statistics this morning. Right now, there's something like 40 exabytes of traffic on the web. Within 10 years, they're talking of double that. We're talking about a hyper-connected world where devices are always connected. We're talking about an Internet of Things where instead of people communicating, machines will be communicating over the internet. There's this exponential growth. And therein lies the challenge for telcos, which is it's going to consume more and more bandwidth. But it's also an opportunity for monetization. And I think partnering, this session is largely about partnering with people like us who understand that world very well. We know how to monetize content. That's our reason for being. We understand how to make content work with any device, connected on any platform, whether it's mobile or physical, anywhere in the world, and give that high premium quality experience so that that content can be monetized. You will not be able to monetize content if the customer experience is poor, because the customer will use it and therefore it can't be monetized. So we understand that world very well. And network operators have a great legacy of infrastructure, a great legacy of network, and an understanding of network. And we believe that a combination of our understanding of content and the network operator's infrastructure and power in any given country in the market is compelling when it comes to growing revenue for both parties as the whole content world grows, the whole opportunity grows, irrespective of the nature of the content. So we've just launched some operator-specific services where we want to work closely with operators to help them to monetize content and also leverage our global infrastructure to take that content anywhere in the world as per the needs of those customers. Something else we're doing, which is probably worth a mention, is we all know in this region, very often the first time people get a web browser, it's on a mobile device now. And as we all know, the mobile networks were never really designed for the kind of traffic that's now being forced up onto the network, particularly the video traffic, which is very congested. Akamai, working with Ericsson, is now deploying the software that Akamai is using to make the internet work physically into the mobile networks, or at least the ones that use Ericsson infrastructure, which is, from a market share standpoint, the #1 today in the network operator space. And our goal is to make the mobile networks as capable as the internet itself in terms of reducing the congestion, improving the performance, improving the security, dealing with all the challenges, if you like, that are clearly in the internet, but dealing with those actually in the mobile network too, because the growth in mobile is exponential. And in this region, of course, I think we all know that it's even more so. The first, as I say, the first adoption of the internet is very often on a mobile device now. So that there's a real boom, and that's a real problem that we have to solve in conjunction with the network operators and the network infrastructure providers.
Thanks, David. I think it's good to hear that you have some new services related to helping the Asian operator to distribute the content in other regions, because we believe that this year there's going to be a shift also. Like in the past, maybe the Thai operator or here, maybe they consume more of the US content, and that's why you put all this content into Thailand so we can access this faster. I think that's a beginning, and I think last year when we approached Akamai about trying to, because we believe that with the 25 million subscribers that we have, when these people go to Facebook, right? Some of their friends are in other countries. If they access Facebook in Thailand differently, they can get a quick access up to the content. But some of their colleagues are in US and Japan, all these countries. They want to also look into the videos of their friends and family in Thailand, right? So we believe that to push content of these out to the other side is another way that it's good to hear that it's a product now that Akamai is having this year, which we believe that certainly with the Thai population, I think the mobile subscriber base already exceed 100%. A lot of people already have 1 or 1.5 mobile phones. So with this, I believe that consumers in other countries will like to access some of the mostly Thai-generated content, which is probably on the Facebook or YouTube. And with this product, maybe there's more benefit for the Thai operator. But we do see that in the CDN market, there's, okay, you're a large player, and there may be Limelight, CD networks, but there are all, yeah, but there, and there's also many others out there, but some come and go. You see there's some buying of each other, stuff like that, and just wondering what makes Akamai kind of like can stay ahead for so long, while some of them started almost similar time frame as Akamai, but some of them are gone, and some are buyout or something. So I'm not sure how did Akamai stay competitive to be this 14 years to take the leadership? Why there's so many CDNs?
Yeah, and this is a very, very big market, and it's growing exponentially. So there's certainly room for competition, and competition actually is one of the reasons why Akamai continues to stay ahead, because it's a very driven organization, and it knows that in order to maintain its position in the marketplace, it has to continue to innovate. Akamai was actually founded it's an interesting story, it was founded in MIT. It was actually a conversation between our founder, who's a professor of applied mathematics at MIT, and Tim Berners-Lee, who arguably is the founder of the internet. And the conversation went along the lines of Tim asking Tom Layton, who's a professor of applied mathematics, how are we going to solve this problem of the worldwide weight, the congestion? I'm sure many of us who are old enough remember when it took a long time to get anything out of an internet interaction. So Tom, being a mathematician, wrote an algorithm, and that algorithm actually begat Akamai. And one of the answers to the question is that Akamai is literally a stone's throw from MIT. So we take some of the best brains in the industry and bring them into Akamai, and therefore we have a very high IQ, I guess, as a company. I personally don't fall into that category, by the way. I'm one of the dumber people in the business. But you know, the next one is that we have a very unique architecture. So we have a unique architecture where we distribute our software. We're a software company, and our software is distributed globally on servers. But we are a software company. We're not a network company. We don't own network. We don't own bandwidth. We don't own data centers. We have a completely distributed architecture. So our technology, our software, is close to the eyeball. It's very close to the user. We've got over 100,000 servers distributed in 900 networks in 80 countries. It's an incredibly dense, incredibly scalable network. So one, it's close to the eyeball, which means that the performance of that infrastructure is good. It also means you can do some very clever things because we're running with software. So we're continually developing. Software is a very stable way to run a platform, run a network, and it gives us a great deal of flexibility when it comes to developing new products. And that's to our advantage. It keeps us nimble. So I think it's a combination of things, really. Competition certainly drives us harder. We've broadened our portfolio, as I said, and now we derive more revenue from non-content than we do content, if that makes sense. And I believe that, you know, and where do we see the growth coming from in the future? It's mobile. We think mobile is going to drive the growth of the internet, and will drive the growth of our company. So we're very focused right now on solving the problems of running mobile sites, solving the problems of transcoding in the network, so that anybody who owns content gives us content, and we will transcode it in the network to suit the format of the device, no matter what the device is, where it is, how it's connected. We have adaptive bitrate technology in the network, which basically means that no matter how poor your connection is, we will adapt the stream that goes to your device so that it works perfectly on your device, given the nature of how you're connected. you know, it's innovating around that space, which I think is the key to the future. And it's also, I think, very symbiotic with telco. You know, if we can solve a lot of these inherent problems and work with our telco partners on monetization, it provides a very symbiotic relationship going forward, where there's a win-win on both sides and where we can really scale our business. Akamai isn't going to set up 1,000 people companies in every country in the world. That's not what we're at. We're a software company. We're in the business of solving the problems of the internet and monetizing content. And when it comes to, you know, domestic coverage, when it comes to in-country approach, we believe that partnering with telcos is critical to our success going forward, and indeed critical to the ability of telcos to really monetize the content, premium content, successfully.
So maybe all the guys are telco related. Maybe David or maybe some of the audience can answer or raise a question. But I'm now, as for the provider, we are, how to say, I think, you know, we are building a lot of submarine cable. As you said, you have too many fiber in, how to say, in Thailand. We are building a lot of cable in intra-Asia. Now the new cable is coming for this year from Singapore to Japan, and next year another 2 cables will come. On the other hand, as Akamai said, it's really that now the traffic drives where the contents or where the cache server exists. So many CDN players are already located in Asia. So many contents, big contents already migrating to Asian side. So the issue is whether that one, of course, definitely slowing down all the traffic volume. Maybe traffic is consumed inside the country or some very regional. So does anybody think it's too much supply for the submarine cable, or still there is so many high demand for this kind of thing? Considering this kind of a CDN technology. You have any opinion?
I think, and I used to work for Actors, and you know, I'm familiar with the topic, and I think it's a cycle, right? So you submarine cable, you always build over capacity, you know, for 5 years, make a lot of money, then you just realize that, oh, there's too much capacity. You know, you used to do $400 million project, and then you're dying for a $10 million project, and you know, this goes for 2 years, and then again you build more capacity. So it's just a cycle thing, right? Because you can't actually, submarine cable being what it is, you can't actually just lay down a small submarine cable. It has to be a big one, right? And by the way, can I ask a question? Or I'm banned from questions. There's a quick question to David, because I don't know how long you've been with Akamai, but I'm assuming that from what you said that you have a lot of experience with Akamai. And, 10 years ago it was about web acceleration. Then 5 years ago it was about video. 3 years ago was about DSA. The last year or two it's about mobile. In your view, what's next?
So I think all of those things are next too. But one of the things you didn't talk to in that particular question was cloud. So, and just think of the context of, my specialization historically has been in telco, but it's also been in the enterprise space. So, what I see in talking to, and the Riverbed example we used earlier is a good example, where companies enterprise has used private networks in the past, they're using hybrid networks today or tomorrow. And they are going to use software as a service. They're going to put many of their applications into other people's data centers. They won't care where those data centers are, but they will want to be able to access in the most reliable and cost-effective manner. And I think that when it comes to companies such as ours, actually that plays very nicely. So we're going to see a lot of growth where companies go into the public network to run mission-critical enterprise applications. The Riverbed product that we launched in conjunction with Riverbed, basically what it does is, Riverbed are the world leader, certainly by market share in wide area network or MPLS acceleration. So that's the private network. Well, what they're seeing and what we're seeing now is more and more customers who want to go, they want their users who are within the private network to be able to access software as a service, which is in the public network. And they want to be able to transverse the private network, go out of the firewall into the public network, get files, share files, do stuff in the cloud, come back and sit at their desk in their office and be able to do that in the same way as they would expect it to happen across the private network. In other words, they want files to download instantly, they want the same response times, the same performance levels, etc., except same levels of reliability and security. But we all know that the public internet doesn't actually naturally give those things. So the joint venture that we've now, or the product we launched together with Riverbed, solves that problem. And you know, I saw a demo of this not long ago, and quite literally it took minutes to download a file and upload a file in and out of Salesforce.com, in and out of Microsoft 365. But with the combination of Riverbed and Akamai in that private to public to private scenario, that download just went from minutes to seconds, literally seconds. So these are tangible productivity tools that the enterprises want to use. You know, using IT as a drink, pay by the drink, is, I think, the future of IT. And enterprises over time are going to migrate more and more toward that. And being able to support that through making the public network efficient so they can drink from the well that's somewhere out there in the cloud successfully is, I think, a big opportunity for the industry.
Listening from you, it appears that the competency, what I think Sid mentioned this morning about the competency of like the carrier is the more of the network, how to build the network and push the bits and minutes. While the competency of the CDN is software, and these are two distinct competencies. Sounds like, and maybe this morning there was some question related to why did not like the carrier are innovative enough. Probably the competency is already different because they probably need to build more software related competency, and it seems that if they cannot do that, it's probably going to be very difficult to catch up with the CDN. The reason I say that because we can see that in the past the traditional IP transit bandwidth, right, that we don't have CDN on our platform. Now with the CDN, it's almost half of the international bandwidth. It's not needed. It's already put on the CDN supplier. And this is just starting with like the very few CDN supplier, which is Akamai and some other Google. But there are a lot more of these CDN. And once these people come into the region to put their server, to raise their content, and maybe some of them may have their own and take out from Akamai, right? Some maybe Facebook has their own CDN maybe in the future, right?
Not one of our biggest customers.
Yes, sure, but that's also can be something like the carrier now, the CDN's here, and the carrier loses revenue. Maybe the Facebook here, then you lose revenue. But these are I think the challenges for the carrier to really cannot, like what you just said, the bandwidth is not, the growth is not like as fast, right, in terms of the international bandwidth. So I think the carrier side, since this is the Area World Conference, the carrier community must think quick about these things, or else the revenue which is decreasing, the margins may be reduced faster than you thought it would be. And I think I've been asking some of the carrier that come to meet us at the office, should you guys change business model totally? And none of the people I asked has ever thought of this. Like right now, like you still charge per bits and minutes or port on the traffic movement, right? While people like the Akamai, they have different revenue generation model. So would it be the time where the carrier community start to think of a different way to make money? I think this is probably an issue for all the carriers that I like to raise. I think that would be a challenge for even NTT or other players.
Maybe if I know the way, I will not disclose. I will do it myself. this is something like ugly. But yeah, internet, from the beginning, it's also said that without meter, without any kinds of, how to say, the measure the bandwidth, how to say, not charging to the end customer. That's why many guys start to use the unlimited bandwidth. But the mobile sector is now changing the model, right? In the US, they start to charge a premium. And I think in Hong Kong, mobile operator also started to do it again in the same way. So that one maybe might change. So I hope that our end customer still have a room to pay more if they use more. This is what I'm still hoping. Other way, of course, maybe we have to something like a differentiate with maybe our protocol BGP4 will not be complete, cannot be, but other than that, maybe we have to do. We're always talking about our other provider, how we can survive. But like one business model which is very interesting in Japan, like some of the streaming provider, the company name called Duango, they have more than 7 million subscribers. And they are very enjoying to comment on all the, what they listed as the contents. And if they would like to see more smoothly, they have to pay more. They have to become how to say, not a free of charge. And if they pay for $3 per month, the streaming will become much smoother. So these kind of things, something is necessary. Maybe collaborating with the CDN provider or streaming provider. But without having that one, if we only have the gig file, no way for us to survive. If you other comments, maybe I'm welcome.